I'm back. And so begins a new era for Cartoon Clipshow, because today I'm doing my very first Patreon sponsored review. That's right, I have a Patreon, and if you want to help support the show, check it out. And not too long ago, I put up a tier on my Patreon where particularly generous donators get to pick what I review. And to be honest, I didn't expect anybody to go for it. It was just something I was kind of throwing out there. But sure enough, I got two. I got two requests. One we're going to do today and one we're going to do in the next episode. And I got to tell you, I'm kind of excited about this. I've never really done anything like this before, and I'm kind of interested to know what people want me to review. So, without further delay, what am I reviewing? This might have been a mistake. Street Sharks, an animated series produced by Deke Entertainment that ran from 1994 to 1997. Odds are you've heard of this show, or at least have seen the characters before, but probably have never experienced it for yourself. It's another show in the genre I coined a long time ago called the Anthropomorphic Crime Fighters. In short, it was a show that came out in the 90s in response to the Ninja Turtles craze and tried to do something similar. Right down to the action figure line. The toys were made by Mattel, and you may have seen the figures pop up every now and then as well, but to be fair, they're pretty rad, I guess? Wow, a muscle-bound shark man in bright clothes on rollerblades. What a great visual representation of the 90s. On a side note, I recently found an old promo for the toys starring a young Vin Diesel.
He's the leader of the Street Sharks. He's a great warrior. He's got the real shark skin, and his special power is the right hand roundhouse punch. He sends the competition to a watery grave. Boom! Death.
I have nothing to add. I just want people to be aware that that exists.
I've got something here with such fantastic detail it's going to blow you away. Head shark!
Anyway, here's a true story. I was actually planning on reviewing the show a long time ago. Unfortunately, the only way to get a hold of any decent footage at the time was to track down the only 3 VHS tapes they ever released of the show. And they proved a little bit more difficult than I had thought to get a hold of. But by the time I finally got a hold of the final tape, they ended up releasing the entire series on DVD. So I just kind of rage quit the review out of sheer frustration. Thanks, guys. Well, I guess I shouldn't be too upset. At least it got a full series release. 40 episodes? This series is 40 episodes long? Jeez, have mercy. I just reviewed Thundercats. Oh, but check it out. You get a bonus episode of Cops. Sweet! Wait, I reviewed Cops already. Yes, there are 40 episodes divided into 3 seasons. Season 1 had 3 episodes, Season 2 had 10 episodes, and Season 3 had 27 episodes. And people complain about the season lengths of Netflix shows. Look, I know this is a Patreon request and everything, but do I have to review this? I mean, I'll give you your money back if you want. I'm good for it. Alright, let's do this. So the first 3 episodes, aka Season 1, is about the origin of the Street Sharks. The series takes place in Fission City, which I can only assume is located adjacent to Tromaville, where the obvious villain of the series, Dr. Paradigm, is performing evil genetic experiments at the university.
A key strand from the swordfish, one from the lobster, combined with man's own, and it begins.
It's
koala mixed with rattlesnake, chimpanzee, cactus, shark, golden retriever, and just a smidge of dinosaur.
But Dr. Bolton, the professor whose research he's using, tries to stop him, but not before getting a dose of some genetic material and turning into some creature we never see and then runs off. But Dr. Bolton's 4 sons, yes, 4 sons, go looking for him, but they get captured and become part of Paradigm's experiment, which kills them. Yeah, they basically die from getting stabbed in the chest with syringes. Then they even try to dispose of the bodies. Yeah, street sharks! Well, I guess there was a delayed reaction because they eventually get up and turn into the street sharks. Wow, that just looks painful.
That lousy gene-slamming Paradigm's gonna pay for this.
Lighten up, guys. Maybe it's not all bad.
Yeah, we can have our own special during Discovery Channel's Shark Week. They rename themselves Ripster the Leader, who's a great white, Jab the Hammerhead, who headbutts, which is not what a hammerhead shark does.
Prepare to be genetically redesigned.
Prepare to have your face redesigned.
Shut up, Captain N. Streaks the tiger shark who wears rollerblades. Okay. And Big Slamoo the whale shark who's the football one. Obviously. He's also named after a famous killer whale, which becomes very confusing later on. Also, fun fact, whale sharks don't have sharp teeth. They're filter feeders. I have a feeling this show's not going to be very scientifically accurate. So the transformation gives them super strength, the ability to eat through anything, and they can swim through the ground, even through asphalt and concrete, while somehow being able to see where they're going, and leaving massive damage to the city everywhere they go. Our heroes, ladies and gentlemen. Fortunately, they decide to use their new powers for good and rescue a nearby lady in a burning car who is immediately terrified of the burly shark men coming at her.
Sharks! Help!
Well, she's gonna need a lot of therapy.
Shark attack! Let's kick some fin!
We're gonna keep spewing catchphrases until one of them is memorable.
JAWSOME!
That'll do. Fortunately, though, the street sharks have a couple of human allies to help keep them under control, like their buddy Benz from the university, who for some reason is named after a condition you get from scuba diving in deep water for too long. It's very painful and potentially fatal. He's a technical genius who builds the sharks some vehicles so they can get around without tearing up the city, saving the taxpayers millions in road repair. He's the real hero of this show. He also lets the sharks use his secret underground workshop as a hideout. I gotta admit the Jaws image there is a nice touch. Also joining them is Lena, another of their friends from the university, who is Dr. Paradigm's lab assistant. But once she realizes he's up to no good, she decides to secretly help out the street sharks with her knowledge of genetics. She might be the smartest person in the entire show. Not that there's much competition. During a confrontation with Dr. Paradigm, he gets injected with piranha DNA, and now every time he gets mad, this happens.
Dr. Paradigm?
Forget Paradigm, he's a piranha now.
Hey, then that makes him Dr. Paranoid.
Yeah, that'll sound good on an action figure package. I guess this is supposed to be intimidating, but it's kind of ruined by his dumb helium voice.
Take our prisoner to the auxiliary warehouse
on the other side of town. And if you can't use him as bait to capture his brothers as well, then use the auto-destruct system to eliminate them all!
Hello, my name is Mr. Squeaky. Captain, please! This is serious.
Throughout the series, we see a lot more characters. In the beginning, Dr. Paradigm creates a couple of minions out of some aquatic animals. There's Slobster, who is a lobster. Get it? And Slash, who is a swordfish but has a drill for a nose instead of a sword. How the hell did that happen? And apparently they were both made using DNA from a couple of historical villains.
a ruthless leader, Genghis Khan, and the callous, cold-blooded loner, a lawless pirate, Captain Blood.
Huh, I wonder if Dr. Paradigm ever did work for Cobra. In Season 2, Paradigm makes another minion, a squid named Killamari. Get it? He shoots spears that carry a lethal venom, and I mean lethal because it almost kills a few people. You know, I can't help but notice there have been a lot of stabbings in this kid's cartoon. There's another who is actually a human that Paradigm gave eel DNA to and is renamed Reptile, which implies he's also part reptile, which makes no sense even for this show. But it's about to get weirder when we meet the allies of the Street Sharks. So Paradigm takes notice of one of the Bolton's friends named Jet, who has a habit of doing what everyone tells him without question.
I left a pen out on the flagpole outside that window. Would you get it for me?
No sweat, Doc. Whoa! Gee, I'm sorry, Doc. I couldn't find it.
His talent is being a total pushover. He gets combined with a killer whale and is named Moby Lick because he uses his tongue as a weapon and makes disgusting slurping sounds every time he talks.
What have you done with my buddy Jet?
What if I said I munched him for lunch?
Eventually he comes to his senses and sides with the sharks, and this is where things get confusing. As I stated earlier, Slamu is named after a famous killer whale, and whenever they're together on screen, I get them mixed up.
Slamu! We need the big one, and we need it now!
Seismic Slam 9.5!
Speaking of confusing things, this next one's going to need some explaining, so bear with me. So, remember Dr. Bolton? Well, after he ran off, he started working in secret, presumably to hide how he looked now, and occasionally sends the sharks some help. He finds out that Paradigm is planning on transforming people at a rock concert by spiking the drinks and popcorn with his genetic formula. Obviously. Meanwhile, the rock star who was playing at the concert is staying at a hotel where Bolton happened to be secretly hiding and doing his research. So when he goes out searching for food, he finds Bolton's lab with the drugged popcorn, and he just kind of takes some to eat. He just breaks in and steals someone else's food. I'd also like to point out that he's apparently having popcorn for dinner. Then overnight he turns into another shark, but he's totally fine with it and just tells everyone he's wearing a costume. This might be the dumbest and most complicated origin story ever. And explaining all of that was exhausting. Anyway, this is Rox. He's a totally awesome rock star shark man.
Rocks! The greatest thunderbender since the guitar got electrified!
You know, he kind of reminds me of someone, but I'm not really sure who.
I am so cool!
So when we finally reached Season 3, some characters inexplicably vanished. Slobster and Slash were gone, and we never saw Rox again either. Oh no, they were such memorable and essential characters. But we get more new characters, including Shrimp Louie.
Let me at him! Just let me at him!
Yeah, he's one of those kinds of characters. He's also the only character without an origin. He just kind of shows up. Fortunately, I think the show knows how stupid he is, and they seem to go out of their way to humiliate him.
Try and get me! Just try and get me!
At one point, the sharks meet a performer that does a sword act with a live marlin. God, I hope nobody tells PETA about this.
Sounds good to me. See you later, Spike. I really hate to leave him, you know. But what can you do when your best bud weighs 1,000 pounds and breathes water?
Dude, if your best friend is a fish, you need to get out more. Well, the good news is they'll be spending a lot of time together because they get combined into one entity that's a Zorro-like sword-fighting fishman named El Sordo. Very creative. Well, at least they got the sword part right this time. There was another episode where some astronauts find a DNA sample of an alien creature, and Paradigm, of course, tries to use it for evil.
And once I combine it with this manta ray DNA, and then load it into the grain maker, my destiny shall be fulfilled. The world genetically engineered to my specifications.
Yes, my evil plan to turn everyone on Earth into manta rays. The alien DNA turns into a monster and runs rampant on the space station, so the Street Sharks go to stop it. I just love how the government apparently has spacesuits that can fit a giant shark man. The The monster proves tougher than expected, so one of the researchers injects himself with Paradigm's formula and becomes Manta Man. No, that's not me describing him, that's what his name is. Again, creative. Although the space station gets destroyed, Manta Man somehow survives. In space. Then he just kinda jumps down to Earth. And survives because we see him later. Apparently the alien DNA made him tough, but I just love the fact that he knew that would work and he wouldn't just burn up in the atmosphere. Oh god, this was dumb! Ah!
Aquí estás, siempre presto saludar, fechar. Aquí estás, siempre presto saludar, fechar.
So in case you hadn't noticed, the show is kind of stupid. I mean, just look at it. At first glance, this looks like a parody, but then you have the horrible realization that it's actually real. And it's got pretty bad animation. Not that I really expected much of Street Sharks, but this is about as cheap as it got for the time. Most of the time, the Street Sharks are just standing around with their big dumb mouths open. Though there were some moments in the show where the animation got like weirdly fluid and it feels bizarre. Then there's this scene where they keep showing Benz's face. It's creeping me out. Why is he staring at me like that? What does he want? As expected of a show at the time, there were some environmental episodes. There was a side villain named Maximilian Medusa. Not sure why he's named after Medusa, but whatever. He's an evil businessman who causes pollution, because of course he does, and one of his workers just happened to fall into his toxic waste and became Clamando. Half man, half clam. All commando. And yet he still works for him.
And Mr. Medusa saved me. If it weren't for him, I wouldn't have survived. And who would have given me a job looking like this? A clam man.
You kidding, man? If that $700 suit wasn't doing all that illegal dumping, you never would have turned into a clam man.
Maybe he offers good benefits. And there was the drugs episode. Yup, a lot of cartoons back then tried to take on the drugs issue, though hilariously, the drug featured in this show is steroids.
Why are you taking these?
Come on, Lena. I was a nerd. Look at this. Super Blues did this for me.
For the record, I am very aware that steroid addiction is a real thing, but considering the time period and the source material, it's pretty funny and ironic. But don't worry, the Street Sharks have it under control.
The Street Sharks! They're so cool. I was so dumb to take that stuff. Come on, man, it'll fry your brain. The Street Shark never touched that stuff.
Yeah, be like the Street Sharks. Loud, gluttonous sharkmen that tear up city property and terrify people they try to save. Role models. One thing I'll say about this show is they tried to keep good continuity. In Season 2, Paradigm was planning something big, and little by little, we learned about it. They even gave some decent backstory to Manta Man. His family thinks he died a hero in the space station disaster, and he desperately wants to tell them he's okay, but is afraid to approach them because of how he looks. But believe it or not, the best thing about this show was Paradigm. He's a surprisingly great villain. He's constantly trying to genetically alter the world so he can rule or whatever. Typical mad scientist stuff, and his plans constantly get foiled by the Street Sharks. But what makes him so great is that he never gets caught because he keeps the media and the public against the Street Sharks. In Season 2, Rox tries to use his celebrity influence to try and expose him, but he was always one step ahead. He does eventually get caught, but not until late into Season 3, which means for the majority of the series, he's had the advantage. I kind of like this because it's actually good commentary on how the media can manipulate people into believing anything.
What are you gonna do, Doctor?
What do politicians do? Hold a press conference.
And Paradigm is surprisingly good at convincing people. In the episode with Moby Lick, Jet wasn't the only one Paradigm was looking to experiment on. He was able to convince some girl that she had a disease he was doing research on, but ultimately turned her away.
Gee, Dr. Paradigm, couldn't I try your treatment even though the compatibility serum didn't work on me?
I'm sorry, but no. It might prove too dangerous. On the other hand, your condition may cure itself.
Really?
There's a very good chance of it. Especially since there was never anything wrong with you in the first place.
Okay, that's pretty evil. Though I guess on the plus side, she didn't get turned into a killer whale. Though sometimes I wonder if he's really good at lying or if everyone else is just stupid.
It pains me to announce that I've uncovered a plot to genetically alter all of Fission City. I don't mean to cause public hysteria, but it's my civic duty to inform you that this plot is the doing of those unspeakably genetically altered street sharks.
I, for one, believe the obvious supervillain. Sure, he may be in a scary robot suit with a hook for a hand, but he speaks for the people. Hey, we should elect him president. Oh, but don't worry, some people start to like the street sharks, but perhaps a bit too much.
They might be dangerous, but then again, that blue one is kinda cute.
What do you say, Laverne?
Anything you want me to. Tall, blue, and JAWSOME.
Well, someone's into some weird stuff. Funny thing is, this isn't the only time it happens.
Pretty fantastic stuff, eh?
Not as fantastic as you.
Why fool around with wannabes, girls, when you can get a real shark's autograph?
You're gonna be seeing real stars in a minute, pretty boy.
Oh.
Hey, baby, want to come over here and rub up against my shark skin? It feels like sandpaper. Paradigm's influence even reaches high-ranking government officials, including the president. I was just joking about making him president. Fortunately, the street sharks get to the president first and explain about Paradigm, but then he claims the sharks were manipulating the president and turns the Secret Service against them. And this whole thing leads to what I think is the only funny joke in the entire series.
That shark has got the president. Get him! Hold your fire, you morons. You'll hit the president. What are you, CIA?
Yeah, they went there. Fortunately, the president plays along, and in several episodes, he helps out the street sharks in secret. You know, this show does have some good ideas, but unfortunately, it's outweighed by all the stupid stuff. Most of the time, the show is just mindless action and chase sequences. And I already commented on the cheap animation, but in Season 3, they decided to put montage sequences in each episode set to awful 90s butt rock with bad video effects.
We're gonna make techno history. It's a necro-munching war. We're gonna make techno history. Gonna slam the Teen Slam door.
That's how you see you. Soon they'll see you too. Don't judge a fish by the color of his fin. Just be you and begin.
Jab rips to roll, ready to roll. Streets and slam have it under control.
Sometimes they even show clips of stuff that hasn't even happened in the episode yet. That's not how montages work. And there were even a few times where they actually tried to lip sync the characters to the lyrics. Full disclosure, the following clip was not altered by me in any way. This is exactly how it was in the episode. Roll it.
Five to the fin, street sharks rule. Yay! Five to the fin, always cool.
Oh my god, what is this, an AMV? Circa 2002? They obviously did this to fill time and save on production, but there was one other time where they froze on Paradigm and played clips from previous episodes. I guess the idea is he's supposed to be thinking about all this stuff, but they hold on this for a really long time, and it eats up a lot of the episode. How lazy can you get? Alright, it's time for me to talk about what everyone's probably waiting for. The crossover. Street Sharks had a brief crossover with Extreme Dinosaurs, which was another toy line by Mattel that would soon get its own show. Though there were some changes. In Extreme Dinosaurs, they were dinosaurs turned into humanoids by aliens, and in Street Sharks, they just came from a planet of dinosaur people. Huh, I wonder if they know the Dinosaucers. You know, I've brought up Extreme Dinosaurs many times before. Probably gonna have to review that at some point. They stick around for the last 8 episodes of the series for a story arc where they fight off their enemies, the Raptors. But most of the time the dinos and the sharks are bickering and butting heads. In several episodes the dinos barely even do anything because they get sick, or they can't deal with the weather due to them being cold-blooded, because this was back when most people thought dinosaurs were reptiles. Way to make your new characters look cool, guys. Though eventually they do work together to stop the Raptors and save the Earth. Hey, I just realized something. This is the end of the series. There's still a lot of unresolved plot points. We never got to see what Dr. Bolton turned into, and it was built up since episode 1. They even established that he was building a small army of genetic monsters to combat Paradigm, but they don't do anything with this. In season 3, they introduced time travel because this show wasn't confusing enough. The sharks travel to the future where Paradigm took over, and they run into Benz's grandson, and they find out his DNA somehow resists genetic manipulation. And they don't follow up on this either. It's like they tried to do a dark, complex storyline but completely forgot about it. But you know what the worst thing about this show is? They basically just copied Ninja Turtles. I mean, think about it. There are 4 of them. They have a lair underground, which is pretty much in the sewers. They fight a guy in a metal suit with at least 2 henchmen. When someone gets turned, they call it gene slamming, but it might as well be called mutation. And Ninja Turtles even had a character who was a Ray, named Ray. Okay, it's not very creative, but they had it first. They even had the gall to take some direct shots at Ninja Turtles.
Maybe I'll go get something. Pizza okay?
Pizza? Oh, come on. No way.
How about burgers and shakes, okay?
You see, it's a different greasy food. That means it's okay. Besides, sharks don't eat pizza. That doesn't count.
Too weak. Too slow. Too small.
I like that they included a rabbit there, which is obviously supposed to be a reference to Usagi Yojimbo. Clearly they didn't see that he proved a match for not just the Turtles, but Shredder as well. Funny how they keep making fun of the series considering Ninja Turtles lived on long after the 80s cartoon. Meanwhile, Street Sharks never made a comeback in any way. I don't know if Street Sharks is the worst thing I've ever reviewed, but it might be the dumbest. It's lazy, it has weak writing, and is mostly just brainless, poorly animated action scenes and a confusing mess of what can barely be called a plot. And they had the nerve to take shots at Ninja Turtles when they basically ripped it off. Yes, a lot of other shows were spawned from the popularity of Ninja Turtles, but at the very least they tried to have their own unique identity. Street Sharks didn't even try. In conclusion, the action figures may have looked cool, but the show stinks. Like rotten fish. Well, thank you very much for your generous donation. Next time, we'll be looking at the other Patreon request I got. I won't reveal what it is, but needless to say, it's better than Street Sharks. Although that doesn't really say much, does it?
Good shush! Rocky Balboa action. Do.